I'm Jemima, 34, female, and I got hitched to my man, James, 35, male, when I was 25. Life was good, you know. We were all happy, living our lives and all that jazz. But then, out of the blue, Paulina, 55, female, James's mom, started acting all distant and cold towards me. I couldn't put my finger on why she was doing it, and it seriously messed with my head. I tried talking to James about it, hoping he'd shed some light on the situation, but he just kept saying, "Don't worry about it, babe. You're imagining things." Well, that's easier said than done, right? I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off, and James brushing it off as me being delusional didn't sit well with me at all. But little did I know things were about to get even crazier, because one day I saw a light switch in James. "Hey babe, what's up?" "Well, I know you said I shouldn't bring it up again, but I don't know, it's just that things with your mom." "Again, Jemima? You're overthinking things. My mom's just busy with work, that's all. I promise you she doesn't hate you." "Are you sure?" "Because it's gotten to the point now where she's ignoring all of my calls. It's weird. I don't know what I did to her. Maybe if you could just talk to her." "You're reading too much into this, Jemima. Mom has her own life, and she doesn't always have to be all lovey-dovey to you all the time. You need to grow up." That happened only 2 years after our marriage, and he had never spoken to me like that before. I should have run the moment I heard that crap, but unfortunately I didn't. I thought I could talk to you about anything, James. I can't believe you just said that. "Well, what do you want me to say? That my mom's out to get you? It's all in your head, Jemima." Well, as you can imagine, the argument went on, and I didn't think it would end. But eventually it did, and things weren't pretty. We were barely speaking to each other, and I was even avoiding him at some points. Days turned into weeks, and the tension between James and me only seemed to grow. Usually, after our arguments, James would come around, apologize, and we'd make up. It was our way of resolving conflicts. But this time, James acted differently. He seemed resentful, and it hurt that he wasn't taking my concerns seriously. Instead of comforting me like he used to, he'd just leave the room or stay silent. The silent treatment was usually my go-to move when I was upset, which I know sounds toxic to some of you all, but I swear that was how our relationship dynamic went. He told me he'd love to pull me out of those moody spaces by approaching me. But for some reason, after this argument, he didn't do that. I wasn't appreciating his behavior one bit. It seemed like our once strong connection was slipping away, and I couldn't figure out why James was being so distant and stubborn. Talking to James was tough, and things between us never really got back to normal. I thought about trying couples therapy to fix our relationship, but whenever I brought it up, James would strongly deny that anything was wrong. He kept insisting that everything was fine, but I could see it wasn't. I felt isolated because I didn't have any family to turn to. My parents had died in a car crash when I was just 16, and they had cut ties with their own families long before I was born. I didn't have any extended family or close friends, so I was desperate for some sense of community and support. In my desperation, I decided to reach out to Paulina. Even though she had been giving me the cold shoulder for all these months, I thought it was worth a shot to try and find some comfort and friendship in her. Meeting with her could also provide an opportunity to discuss whatever was bothering her so much that she had been ignoring me. After I finally convinced my mother-in-law to meet up and talk, we chose a cozy cafe as the place to meet. It had been months since we'd last spoken, and it felt like forever. Sitting across from Paulina in the cafe, I felt kind of nauseous. I'm not going to lie. I really wanted to understand what was going on and try to fix things between us, because now it was affecting my marriage. I gently brought up how James had been acting distant lately. Paulina responded coldly, saying that James and her would talk about these accusations. Her dismissive tone only made me more frustrated. I urged her to be honest about how she'd been treating me. I was also worried that her behavior might be affecting James. Jemima, you're being delusional. This is none of your business. You need to stay in your lane before things get ugly for you. Paulina, I'm not making things up. I just want to understand what's going on between us and why James has been acting so distant lately. Well, maybe if you stopped this stupid attention-seeking act, James wouldn't feel the need to distance himself from you. I'm not trying to meddle. I care about James, and I care about our relationship with you. I want us to work this out. Oh, how noble of you. Paulina, I'm just trying to make things better. I believe we are both adults, and you need to hear me when I say I've been hurt by your distance and your coldness towards me. I don't want us to keep drifting apart. I just wanted to talk. Well, your little talk has done nothing but create more problems. You're pushing James away with your constant nagging. I'm not nagging, and I'm not doing anything to him. He should be apologizing to me. Oh, please, he was right when he said you were delusional. Excuse me? Don't you see, Jemima? See what? You're the problem here, not me, not James, it's you. Well, please tell me what I did. You started making up these crazy accusations saying that I have a problem with you. Honey, no offense, but you aren't even on my radar like that. But why not is what I'm asking. We used to be so close, and now you don't even bat your eye when you look at me. If I did something wrong, please tell me. As our conversation continued, Paulina's frustration grew and she started raising her voice. Our argument caught the attention of the cafe staff, who had to kick us out for all the noise. I was so embarrassed. When I got back home after this uncomfortable encounter, James was furious. He had just talked to Paulina on the phone, and it seemed she didn't mind sharing our cafe conversation so quickly. Jemima, what the hell were you thinking? Why did you confront my mother like that? James, I didn't mean to upset you, but that's what you do, isn't it? You just always upset me. Where is this even coming from, James? You realize that this shit between us started because of your mother, right? I told you that you were being crazy, and now you've roped her into everything. Well, someone had to. Since you weren't listening to me, I just felt like something was wrong between us, and I wanted to understand what was going on. Talking to my mom like that won't help anything. You've just made things worse. James, I'm trying to make things better between us and with your family. I don't want us to drift apart. Why is that so hard for you to understand? Well, maybe you should have thought about that before taking matters into your own hands. You can't just go around confronting people like that. I didn't know what else to do. I just want things to go back to normal. As days passed, our fights got worse. The constant drama started taking a toll on my mental health, and my anxiety went through the roof. It felt like I had to be super careful all the time, afraid that I'd set off another big fight with James. Things got so bad that I reached out to a therapist for help. They gave me medication to deal with my anxiety. It was a tough call, but I felt it was my only option to cope with all the criticism and mind games from James. James didn't know about the medication I was taking. James didn't let up with his constant criticisms. He nitpicked everything I did, from cooking to cleaning. It seemed like nothing I did was right, and every day felt like a battle to avoid setting off another argument. Despite trying my best to talk things out and find a solution, our relationship was spiraling out of control. It was taking a massive toll on my mental well-being, and I just wanted James to understand and show some empathy. Instead, he seemed consumed by anger and resentment that I fully didn't understand. Living under James's constant scrutiny had become exhausting. No matter how hard I tried to avoid upsetting him, he always found something, anything to complain about. I felt like I was walking on eggshells just trying to keep the peace. Life had become miserable and I couldn't shake that feeling of dread that hung over our relationship. Despite my best efforts, it seemed like James was always looking for something to criticize. Then, one day, things took a dramatic turn. I happened to pick up James's phone when it was ringing, and when I scrolled through his messages, I couldn't believe what I saw. There were explicit photos in his chat with some co-workers. Some of the girls looked really young too. My heart sank and I was hit with shock, anger, and confusion all at once. I couldn't believe my eyes. My first instinct was to confront James about it, but fear held me back. I was scared he'd turn it around on me just like he had done so many times before. I hesitated, holding the phone tightly in my hand. Should I confront him now? Or should I put the phone back and gather my thoughts? But before I could decide, I heard the door swing open. It was James. His eyes locked onto mine and his surprise quickly turned into anger. "What the hell are you doing with my phone?" I was caught off guard, my words stumbling out as I tried to explain. I found it and I was going to put it back. James got angrier and started yelling at me. "I asked you a question, you idiot. What the hell are you doing with my phone? Are you going through my stuff?" I found it and I was going to put it back. "You were snooping through my messages, weren't you? Don't deny it." "No, I swear I wasn't." "Save your pathetic excuses. I can't believe you'd invade my privacy like this." "I didn't mean to. I didn't think." "I didn't mean to. Your stuttering is so freaking annoying. Get it together." Excuse me?" "You heard me. It's annoying. And by the way, I know." "Know what?" "Don't play dumb with me. Your precious anxiety meds? Remember those? Or have they fried your brain?" "You're such a mess, Jemima. I can't stand how anxious and blubbering you've become. It's gross." "You know what, James? I've had enough of your constant criticism. You don't get to cheat on me and treat me like a dog, James." "Yeah? And so what?" "So what? Oh, really? What did you expect, huh? You're so weird, so crazy." "I expected honesty, respect, and love. But all I've gotten from you is deceit and disdain. I know you've been cheating on me." "So what if I have? You're too messed up to satisfy me, Jemima." "I want a divorce, James." "You don't have the guts to leave me, Jemima. You're too weak and dependent on me." My life had hit rock bottom. I felt defeated and helpless, crying myself to sleep most nights. James continued to berate me for what he deemed laziness, but I had reached a point where his words no longer had an impact. I had given up caring about his hurtful remarks because nothing I did made him happy. Then, one day, something incredible happened. I received news that completely turned my life around. It turned out that I had long lost family relatives who were eager to reconnect with me and share a portion of my grandfather's substantial inheritance. They were incredibly wealthy and had initially sought to mend ties with my parents, but since they were no longer alive, they tracked down the next of kin, which happened to be me. The inheritance amounted to a staggering $800,000, something that could change my life for the better. I was so freaking ecstatic because now it meant that I could leave James for good and find my own way. I felt like a new person with endless possibilities. I was just waiting patiently for me to meet with my family members and live my best life. I wore a constant smile and radiated happiness, a huge contrast to my previous state of depression. This change obviously triggered my narcissistic husband. No matter how hard he had tried to bring me down, I had found some form of happiness again, and I wasn't about to let him take it away under any circumstances. A few more weeks passed and I was still eagerly waiting to hear from my family in Europe about their arrival in America. I was excited and hopeful about the possibility of reconnecting with them and getting my hands on the inheritance money which could change my life. During this time, James was getting more and more frustrated. He could see that his usual tactics to bring me down weren't working anymore, and his anger was bubbling under the surface. So he decided to bring in his mother, Paulina, as his secret weapon to try and push my buttons. "So, Jemima, how have you been? You seem quite happy lately. What's the secret?" "Oh, just focusing on the positive things in life, Paulina." "Positive things? You've been acting like everything is sunshine and rainbows. It's not like you, Jemima." "Well, James, sometimes it's important to find happiness even in the smallest of things. Life's too short to dwell on negativity. Wouldn't you agree?" Interesting. Aren't you concerned about our relationship?" "No." "Ha, that's surprising." "Why is it surprising? You two assured me that nothing was wrong, even going as far as being angry with me because of my delusions, right? Well, now I've accepted that I was in the wrong and we can all move forward, no?" For some reason, James and Paulina weren't happy with this response. It's like they wanted to see me suffer. "I've been working on myself and my own happiness, Paulina. I wish you both the best in finding your own happiness too." "You always have to be so perfect, don't you? Always trying to outshine everyone. With this fake BS about being positive. What are you, a hippie?" "Paulina, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. I hope you can find your own path to happiness as well." "You think you're better than us, huh?" "Not at all, Paulina. I believe everyone has the capacity for happiness and goodness. I truly wish you both find it someday." They were so frustrated, and honestly, to this day, I don't know why. It was like I was standing in front of two witches and they were slowly melting with my rays of positivity. I was low-key on cloud nine. I mean, who wouldn't be? I was weeks away from getting a fat stack of cash and I couldn't be happier. Paulina kept on trying to mess with my head, of course. Honestly, she was acting like Regina George. But I wouldn't let her get to me. Then she dropped a bombshell. Apparently she had been helping James cheat on me this whole time, encouraging him to do it and even covering for him when he lied about spending time with her. She admitted that she did it because she was sick of me. Again, you all, I don't know what I did to upset this woman, but yeah, that's what it was. At that point, I was too drained to cry anymore. I just looked at Paulina and James and told them that I didn't know why they had so much hatred for me. But I didn't care anymore. I wanted a divorce, and that was that. Paulina and James were super shocked because they thought I'd never leave. Paulina especially remembered seeing me cry and probably thought I was too weak to go. But this time, I stood my ground. I wasn't going to stay in a toxic situation any longer. My past suffering wasn't going to hold me back anymore. I was determined to focus on my future. I told them that I didn't want to keep causing stress in the family. My presence seemed to just make everyone upset and I couldn't take it anymore. It was time for me to move on and seek the happiness I'd been missing. Jemima, you can't be serious about wanting a divorce. Have you been taking your meds? I've seen you crying your eyes out for the past few months. You're hopeless, dear. You should be grateful for James. He's put up with your nonsense for all these years and you're going to repay him with divorce? Paulina, I may have shed a lot of tears, but that doesn't mean I'm helpless. I'm done dealing with this family and the constant gaslighting. I was determined to leave that house and the toxic atmosphere behind. Paulina and James tried to convince me that I needed them in my life, but I had made up my mind. I couldn't live like this anymore. I began packing some bags, trying my best to ignore their shouting and yelling. They called me selfish and heartless for trying to ruin James's reputation, but I didn't have the energy to engage with their anger anymore. I just wanted out. I stuffed some of my clothes into a suitcase and I left. About a week after I had left, I received a desperate phone call from Paulina. Her voice was filled with desperation as she told me something crazy. She told me that she had discovered James was in massive debt. A shocking $700,000 in total. The reason behind this was apparently some crippling gambling addiction he had. Paulina, now at her wit's end, begged me to come back and help pay off some of these overwhelming debts. Could you imagine? No. What? You heard me. I said no. I'm not coming back. Good luck handling all of that debt, but I meant it when I said I wanted a divorce. Jemima, please be reasonable. Reasonable? Oh, you mean like how I've been trying to act with you and James this whole time? You two treated me like crap, gave me so much anxiety that I needed to take meds, and now when I've decided I've had enough, you want me back? I don't know if you're just stupid or plain evil. Okay, I'll ignore that rude comment for now, because I'm going to you as a desperate mother-in-law. I suggest you stop referring to yourself as that, because in my eyes you're dead to me. How could you talk to me that way? I'm asking you for help, Jemima. Have a heart. That's rich coming from you. You never liked me anyway. Please leave me alone. That's not true. I did like you in the beginning. Yeah, I can see that. But something happened and I don't know what. And you refused to tell me. Then Paulina sighed, and it sounded like she was fighting back tears when she decided to reveal the truth to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She started by admitting that I had been right all along, that there had indeed been a problem from the start. Surprise, surprise. Paulina confessed that her coldness towards me came from her own insecurities. She felt like I was taking James away from her, and since it was just her and him, she felt lonely, and instead of addressing her own issues, she had decided to take it out on me. She then told me that she was convincing James to cheat on me, as well as spreading some rumors about me to make James angrier with me, which worked in her favor. I guess because everything she wanted came to pass. I couldn't help but feel a mix of anger and sadness. I had never done anything to deserve the way she treated me, and hearing her admit it was really crappy. I told Paulina that she was wrong for trying to destroy my relationship with James. I hadn't done anything wrong as a wife or a daughter-in-law except for existing and trying my best, and she still treated me like crap because she was lonely? How pathetic. Her actions were hurtful and unnecessary. She tried to come up with excuses, but they all sounded like weak attempts to justify her behavior. I couldn't believe that she was so jealous that she was willing to poison our family with her lies. And I guess seeing me not budging about this divorce thing, she realized that she had pushed things too far, too long, and was trying to make amends ASAP. But it was too freaking late. After I firmly rejected Paulina's desperate plea for help, I basically told her I hoped she had a lousy life and hung up. And I'm not going to lie, it felt amazing sticking it to the man like that. It was a moment where I stood up for myself for the first time in ages and refused to get sucked back into the mess that had taken over my life for so long. Now all I could do was wait for my family to come back from Europe. They'll be back soon, and I was feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness about them coming. I have some big decisions to make about my future. My plan is to hang on to the inheritance money my cousins were going to share with me without letting James and Paulina know about it. When the divorce is officially done, I'll use that cash to make a fresh start in a different part of the city. I've been feeling suffocated in this neighborhood, and I was itching for a place where I could finally breathe easily away from all the BS. No matter how many times James and Paulina tried to get in touch with me, I'm not answering. Telling them that if they have some issues, they should contact my lawyer. Wish me luck, y'all.